twice. Tracked him down at a ski lodge. You know how much he offered Netflix to him for? $50 million. Oh my God. They have like a fucking $300 billion valuation. It's like insane. He offered him for $50 million. Because remember, it's a self-cleansing mechanism. People don't fit the criteria anymore. They kick them out and bring new ones in. Last month, we were invited to the S&P 600. We have $150 million in the bank, zero debt, and the stock pays a dividend. And 70% of all of the equity is owned by agents and the founders of the company. What we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and shift over and have a conversation about EXP, the model and the opportunity, which is perfect as it pertains to time freedom and location freedom and margin with time, energy, and money. Now, if that's not something you're interested in, it's cool. Look, we love you anyway. We hope you got tremendous amounts of value. We look forward to adding value to you in the future. I would propose that you stay for two reasons. The first one is the most expensive thing you can own is a closed mind. Mine was closed for a full year, and I appreciate my brother from another mother, Jose, continuing to pester me and ask me questions and push me to actually open my mind long enough to look at it. The second thing I would propose is that the way we see is actually not with our eyes. Our mind uses our eyes as a mechanism to see. So if my mind is blind to the possibility, my eyes will be blind to the opportunity. They will literally be right in front of me and I won't see it.
Fascinating.
So I encourage you, if you're on this call and maybe people have approached you about EXP, I'm sure somebody has, like I just would suggest to you that you suspend for a moment whatever you think you know and open your mind just for a second. Because here's what I know is true. People that are smart, ambitious, and hardworking, once this is explained to them a way that's clear and concise that they can understand, once you see this, you cannot unsee it. So why is EXP the fastest growing real estate company of all time? They've gone from 20,000 agents to 90,000 agents in about 3 years. And why are all these very smart, ambitious, hardworking, top agents making the transition over to EXP? Why is that happening? Well, what if there was a way that you could get equity in the mothership, actually own something other than just your commissions, be compensated for bringing people to a company, and never pay for coaching again? Is that something you'd be interested in? If you're not already with EXP, drop in the chat if that sounds pretty dope, because it sounds pretty amazing to me. Okay. So here's the harsh reality of real estate. And me and Kathleen have had these conversations because, as you can tell, like they really do have a heart for people. And the problem that me and her see coaching people from across the country is most agents are not planning for financial freedom. I remember being on mastermind calls and I was usually the youngest person in the room. I said, guys, I don't mean this disrespectfully. If I am on this call in my 60s talking about contacts and knocking on doors, I fucked up. I did something wrong. Okay. And most agents are on a transaction treadmill, which is just deals. And they're so stuck in the short game that they're not thinking about long games. Okay. And they're not being coached on top of it. And the coaching that's being given is given by a middle manager who's never done more than 2 million in volume. And you give them 20% of your deals for that's like going to a baker and ask them about jewelry. How are they possibly going to teach you to make $1 million a year when they've never done it? Ever. Okay, $1 million just for those who are counting are $83,333 a month. I've done the math.
And you've done it all too.
Oh yeah, I've done that.
Not only have you done the math, but you've done it.
Multiple times.
And so have I.
Just saying, I don't know, who's counting? So the big challenges that we see, right, with regards to disruption. So what I'm aware of is we have all lived through massive disruption over the last 25 years. We just don't think about it. So I literally had to explain to my son what Blockbuster was the other day. Literally, like, no idea. Like, what is that, Dad? Like, what is that? And I remember specifically going into a Blockbuster and asking them what they thought about Netflix. I was just asking the person behind the counter, like, nah. But there's an underlying technology that is disrupting businesses. Okay, so Blockbuster went from being a $6 billion company to disappearing off the planet. Remember when I told you that your mind is what actually sees, not your eyes? And if my mind is blind to the possibility, my eyes will be blind to the opportunity. They didn't see the opportunity of streaming. And in fact, they were aggressively overconfident and filled with hubris that people would always want to pay $5 late fees. And now they disappeared off the planet. But here's the question. Drop in the chat. What was the technology that disrupted, that allowed that to happen? It's the internet. That's what allowed it to happen. I used to work at Circuit City. I'm dating myself. Okay. First sales job I ever had. Pretty dope. They taught me how to like sell the extra commission, the extra warranty. You got a little bonus, if you did that. They dominated the kind of, electronics game. And then Amazon comes along. And Amazon starts to sell electronics and Circuit City disappears off the planet. Do you guys remember? I remember walking into bookstores and there was a music department. Anybody remember that? And you'd be excited, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna look at books, maybe get a coffee, and go listen to my music. You put on your jams, you'd be like, oh yeah, that's good. I remember I walked in one of those places, I'm like, where the fuck did the music department go? Just disappeared. Like I distinctly remember that feeling, being like, what just happened? Where'd it go? What caused that to happen? The internet. And the same thing is happening for traditional brokerage firms. Because here's what I need you guys to understand. You were all doing this model for a full year and you just didn't call it that. Between 2020 and 2021, nobody went to the office and it didn't matter. You did everything via text, everything via Zooms, and everything, if you had questions, you would just reach out to people. You guys were doing this for a whole year. You just didn't call it that. This is what the CEO of Netflix, of Blockbuster actually said out loud. And it's documented and it didn't age very well. Neither Redbox or Netflix are even on our radar screens in terms of competition. Is that not the height of hubris? Being so overconfident? You know that the CEO of Netflix, Reed Hastings, tried to sell Netflix to Blockbuster not once, twice. Tracked him down at a ski lodge. You know how much he offered Netflix to him for? $50 million. Oh my God. They have like a fucking $300 billion valuation. It's like insane. He offered him for $50 million. Because remember, if my mind is blind to the possibility, my eyes will be blind to the opportunity. He had the opportunity of a lifetime. If he would have made that transaction, he would go down like Jack Welch and have books written about him. Instead, we look at him and be like, wow, Jim Keyes was pretty fucking wrong about that. That's like the dumbest thing he could have possibly done. Okay. So I remember when I was a kid, there was only two places we could stay if we went on a trip: at a friend's house or a hotel. Now you have short-term rentals and Airbnb. Airbnb has a bigger valuation than Hilton and they own no real estate. What's the technology that's allowing that to happen? The internet. Do you see? That's what's taking place. We're watching it. We're living through it. And it's happening in our industry. And you have to ask yourself a question. Am I just going to watch and let everybody else just participate, just be a spectator? Or am I going to be a part of that change? Because I came from a traditional brokerage firm. I own part of an office before I made this transition. Okay. And here's what traditional real estate is. You guys ready for this? It's feudalism. You have a king or a queen at the top. They go out and they sell a region for millions of dollars. Those regional owners go out and sell individual franchises, offices, market centers. Those local owners go out and recruit agents. Notice where the agents are in this feudalism chart. They're peasants. They work the land and they never own anything, and all the money funnels back up to the top. Guys, you guys settle for this. You ready? You know what you settle for? Look, you know what they gave me for making $1 million in a calendar year? Actual $1 million cash. Ready? Ta-da! Yay! And you guys go online and you're like, oh my God, I worked so hard for this. Oh, and you post it on Instagram. Yay! Yo, mine came with $8,000 in stock. What'd yours come with? This is the traditional model of real estate that we settled for. And if you're with a traditional brokerage firm, this is what it is. Okay. Now, another model came along and they're like, all right, well, maybe we could do this better. And it wasn't out of benevolence. It's because half the agents left one day, went across the street. And the owner of that company sat down with the rest of the agents, said, what do we need to do? We said, we need transparency, want to see the books, and want to share in the profit. Great. And that was revolutionary because before that, it was just straight feudalism, even though feudalism still exists today. but there was something that was better. So they went up to like 160, 170,000 agents. Fine. The problem with that though, is it's based on businesses in the physical world. Ask yourself a question. With what happened with COVID, which business would you want to own in 2023 moving forward? One that has 900 offices in the physical world with $50,000 a month in expenses, or one that has none? And if that model of profit sharing, you have to get through $50,000 a month of expenses, which means there's not that much profit, which means there's not that much profit sharing going on.
How many properties does Airbnb own?
None. Zero. Zip. Zilch. Guys, it's the same thing. Look, we even got Dr. Laura to go, oh, that is true. Wow. They own no properties, guys. Zero. Why is it so hard for you to think about real estate without a physical office that you go to eat donuts and talk shit? Because nothing happens there. By the way, they got to beg, borrow, and steal to get you to come. They got to give raffles and cakes and pies just to get you to show up. It's antiquated, guys. We don't live in that world anymore. And you proved it because in 2020, 2021, then you went to the office and it didn't matter. So here's what eXp does. eXp cuts out the region. They cut out the regional owner, the kind of local owner. They cut out all the staff, those people that aren't really adding too much value, and they make the agents the owners. Guys, eXp is an S&P 600 company. I'm sure you guys are familiar with the S&P 500, the 500 largest large cap companies in the United States. S&P 600 is the 600 largest mid-cap companies in the United States. You can't buy your way into that. You can't politic your way into that. That is based on business metrics. It's a self-cleansing mechanism. People don't fit the criteria anymore. They kick them out and bring new ones in. Last month, we were invited to the S&P 600. We have $150 million in the bank, zero debt, and the stock pays a dividend. And 70% of all of the equity is owned by agents and the founders of the company.
Which means we don't have somebody else controlling what decisions the company makes, meaning it's not owned by some investors in China or different areas, basically, that have to make a profit, basically.
Agreed. And ask yourself a question. At the end of your working year, what do you have to show for it other than pieces of plastic and a hat and maybe a party where they have hot dogs and hamburgers? Like, guys, it's comical what we settle for. It's ridiculous. Okay? Where here you get equity and you get and you're an owner. Like immediately, and you get compensated like an owner to help the company build. So they get rid of all these regional owners, the individual local franchise owners, all the staff that are in those buildings that aren't doing too much, and the agent becomes the owner. You get lead generation, technology, training, health insurance, stock awards, revenue share, and collaboration. Other than that, I wonder why 90,000 agents have made this decision. I wonder why they went from 20,000 to 90,000 in such a short period of time. Okay. Now, if you're taking notes, I want you to really get clear, because this whole conversation around systems, the core of it is because I want everybody on this call to have margin in their life. Because without margin, your life won't be good. Period. Your relationships won't be good. And that's like the underbelly of this industry. Traditional success is working 70, 80 hours a week, getting divorced 2 times, having somebody else raise your kids across the country. Like, that's what it is. And nobody talks about it. Instead, we just put people on stage like, oh, you made $1 million, good for you. Oh yeah, but your life is shitty and your relationships are bad and your health is poor. Like, our metrics are screwed up. And you're never going to get rich renting out your time. Never. You only get rich by owning equity. I need to pound that into your brain, guys. You never get rich renting out your time. You must own equity in the mothership. You must have upside in the business. Now, the question is if you're not with eXp, do you have any upside? Here's the question to ask yourself. How many deals would you have to do in order to become an owner in the mothership of your company? Is it even possible? And the answer, you're probably sitting there like, well, and if you have to go like this, well, that means it doesn't exist. So you're just renting time. You're never going to get rich doing that. Okay. So what the model does is the brokerage is in the cloud. Okay. And it eliminates all of the monthly expenses. And what that allows them to do is redistribute revenue to us, the owners. Right? It's just a different model. It's a different way of doing things. You know, I'm sure when the automobile came out, they're like, nah, we're always going to have horses. Because we resist change, guys. That's what it is. But in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king and the one-eyed woman is queen. If I can see what is while everybody else is running around blind, it's a very, very deep competitive advantage.
Not only that, but when they asked people what they needed back then, they didn't say a car. They said they needed a faster horse.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's like agents telling me, well, like going to the office, like hanging out with people. Do you want to hang out with people or make money, man? What do you want? You can hang out with people on your own time. Like go join a bowling league. Like I don't know what to tell you. All right. So, and the deal is leverage is what creates margin. And there's different forms of leverage. There's the leverage of labor, which Kathleen and Dr. Laura were talking about, which is where you have people and staff that work SOPs that you've created. Then there's a leverage of capital, which is where you have capital or money that works for you, right? Me and Jose have invested a bunch of money in real estate, whether it be physical properties or syndications, in order to have cash flow. Then there's the leverage of content. Why do you think you see me and Jose banging on social media so much? Because it has no geographic borders or boundaries and works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and the audience keeps compounding and getting bigger over time. Then there's a leverage of code, which is software. And I want you guys to understand all brokerage firms are platforms to process transactions. That's all they are. And what is behind it is this rah, sis, boom, bam, we're a family and hold hands. But underneath what's really going on, it's just a platform to process transactions. That's it. And the reason why EXP is so high up the opportunity ladder is because it's just software that people can plug into anywhere on planet Earth to process their transactions. And in order to plug in, it only costs $150 and $85 a month. How can they compete with that? The truth is they can't. That's why those legacy companies are hemorrhaging money and EXP is profitable, even when the marketplace is challenging. It's a model shift, guys. We're living through it. Okay. But we don't live in a world of haves and have-nots. We don't live in a world of rich and poor. We live in a world of people who have leverage and people who don't. Listen to what I'm saying to you. When I heard, look, I even got Dr. Lauren like, dang, bro, this guy is good. Like when I heard that, Dr. Lauren, my brain exploded. I was like, oh my God, that is true. First person I thought about is somebody in my life who's very close to me. He's a furniture repairman. He has no leverage of labor, no leverage of capital, no leverage of content, no leverage of software. His life is becoming increasingly more difficult as time progresses. And he's a great person. He's a good dude. But business is intellectual warfare. We don't live in a world of people, rich and poor. We live in a world of people who have leverage and people who don't. Ask yourself a question. Is your current company providing you an ecosystem and a platform to give you leverage? Or do they put things in place in your contract to keep you stuck forever? Oh, we're a family. Really? Do family treat each other that way? Do I keep all your pendings when you leave if we're family? Do I keep all your listings if you leave if we're... Guys, wake up. Stop being immature. Okay? You're somebody else's leverage. Now, the reason why we're so excited about this opportunity is the innovation curve. Because when something's new, right, there's a curve of adoption. Just like when horses came out, everybody's like, nah, we're always going to have, the cars. Everybody's like, nah, we're always going to have horses. Well, there was an adoption stage. And at first, there's the innovators. They see it first. Oh, yeah, this totally makes sense. And they do it right away. It's only 2.5% of the growth curve. Then you have the early adopters. Early adopters have a high tolerance for risk. So like, yeah, that sounds good. Let's write a roll. Boom. Cool. That's some of our upline at EXP who has 6,000 agents now. Then you have the early majority. Those people have a lower tolerance for risk. They need more people to do it in order to feel safe. Then you end up with the late majority. They have FOMO. They feel like they're missing out. Then you end up with the laggards. They still have flip phones and use AOL Instant Messenger. And I'm sure you get those clients. They're like, yeah, my AOL email address. I'm like, okay, I know how old you are, right?
In paper. They're still using paper.
Oh, we got Dr. Lori ripping on you. She was trying to be kind before. Now she's letting it rip. That's the way to do it. So the reason why we're so excited about this opportunity, guys, is I firmly believe with every fiber in my being and the way I know the sky is blue and the grass is green, we are just entering into the early majority of this opportunity. Enough people have done this where it's perceived to be safe. Enough top producers, enough smart business people have done this. It's perceived to be safe, and we're about to experience an avalanche. And here's what I need you to know and understand is if you follow a wave, a tsunami, you can do more in 3-5 years of a working career than you could in a whole lifetime because you have the power of the tsunami behind you. I think in the next 10 years, we're going to have 50% of all agents are going to be with cloud-based brokerages, which means EXP could go to 400,000, which means we're only 20% of what our full capacity is. That's unbelievable. That's why me and Jose are so excited.
Yeah.
Okay. Is this you? Okay. Just going to be you? Those people are like, I love, open house. I'm like, that's disgusting. You haven't hung around enough people. Okay. They don't have a plan. No retirement plan. Just, I plan on doing this forever. This comes from Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrant. These are the way people earn income. Okay. There's E's and S's. Those are on the left side of the quadrant. They are the highest taxed. Okay. Lowest amounts of freedom, typically, and options and choices. The B's and I's are business owners. They own a system, right? Self-employed people usually work the system, or they are the system. Business owners own the system that other people work. And then I's are investors, which is money works for them. 95% of the population earns income on the E and the S side, which is the highest tax with the least amount of options and choices. Only 5% owns it on the B and I. What this model does is instantaneously turn you into a business owner because you own part of the mothership and also an investor. So it increases your leverage, moving you towards the right side of the quadrant. So the question to ask yourself is like, all right, what's my I'm done number? Okay. And people throw these numbers out because I think social media and money, and like people don't do the math. They don't think. They're like, yeah, I want $10,000 a month in residual income. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, let's do the math on that. You would have to have $2.4 million invested at 5%.
Which means you have to make 4.8 after taxes and expenses.
And if you live in California, like Jose, you got to make $6 million. Because they keep 55% cents of every dollar you earn. You see what I'm saying? So they don't we don't do the math on this, guys. It's like this, out in the amorphous kind of thought, and you say it, but I need you to understand, saying something creates endorphins as though you've done it. Don't fall into that trap. Just because you say you want 10,000 out loud makes you feel good is horse shit about you actually doing it.
Not only
I need to be intentional. So the people that me and Jose know, or the fact that we've created financial freedom and independence, we didn't step in shit one day. It's very intentional and thought out, very planned out, very specific, and I'm very clear. Go ahead, Jose.
Not only that, but if you don't do the math, you don't actually have a plan to get to where you want to go. The first is knowing what you have to do. So I ask these people all the time, how much do you want to earn? They say something like $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a month. And then I ask them, how much would you have to earn, or how much would you have to invest? And I get a deer in the headlights type of look, zero idea as to how much money, energy, resources would have to go into that.
Agreed. So if you do the math, and then what you can start to do, if you really want to get into this, and you'll notice the energy in the room go boo, is of that 2.4 million, how much do you have currently? And how much would you have to save in order to get there? And let's say you want to get there in 20 years. So how much would you have to save per year in order to get you that goal and objective? These are things we have to think about, because if you're expecting, what is the max on Social Security? Like $3,500 a month, $4,000 a month? What is that going to do, bro? It doesn't even pay your rent. Sorry. M's the facts. Okay. So now my intention in showing you this is not to brag or boast. My intention in showing you this is the power of this opportunity. Because not only will EXP treat us like owners and give us ownership in the mothership where we have equity, real actual equity in the company, but they also, when we invite people to the company and they join, they have said to us, we're going to follow the same plan that YouTube follows. So everybody's very familiar with YouTube. YouTube has a revenue share component, which is that if you can keep people on the platform and you fit the following criteria, you have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time, they will give you half the revenue that they generate from ads on your content. That's called revenue sharing. And it caused them to become the second largest search engine in the world. First largest is Google, and Google bought YouTube. Now, let me ask you a question. Is that a scam? No, that's a business model called revenue sharing that's existed for, 15, 20 years and made YouTube a huge company. They don't even put their earnings out. And when they did once, everybody was like, oh my God, they made $15 billion, like insane amounts of money, right? eXp says the same thing. If you bring people to our platform, remember, brokerages are just platforms to process transactions. If you bring people to our platform and they are productive, they do deals, we will give you a portion of the revenue that they send back to us towards their cap. Revenue sharing. Okay. So what you're, go ahead, Jose.
It was funny because I was watching this YouTube video and they talked about how other platforms, like I think there's a platform called Kick, they do 95% to their creators of the revenue.
Wow.
That's when it clicked for me when I said, YouTube is not the only person with this model, meaning EXPs like didn't just come up with this idea out of thin air. They looked at what direction everything was headed and said, oh, look, social media companies are giving revenue to the creators, which keeps people on the platform, which keeps us growing, which is the same thing that agents do. Agents bring people to the company, which helps the company grow. Hence, let's reward them for them to bring on more agents to the company.
Exactly right. And it's a mechanism for growth. And it's also a compensation plan that puts us in alignment as owners. That's what it does. And I believe in an environment where corporations have moved so far away from that. It used to be like, yeah, if you work for us for like 30 years, we buy you a watch, Dr. Laura, at the end, and you get a pension for the rest of your life. And then the 401k plan came up and they were like, oh shit, we don't have to pay for this stuff ourselves. We're going to push that off to them. Now it's a contribution plan. It's based on what you contribute. And it doesn't guarantee you're going to get one amount for the rest of your life. And the way corporations treat you is like, yeah, we'll have you work 35 hours a week because we don't want to pay you, like full benefits and all this other stuff. Compensation plans that align ownership with the people that are working, I think are way. I mean, it's the way of the future. And the companies who understand that and get that, they're exploding. So what you're looking at here is a screenshot of my revenue share. So I've been with the company for 14 months. This is what's cool is every time we do these slides, even though they're a week away, it's old because I'm currently at 157. This shows 145. Revenue share this month was $14,230. So I need you guys to understand, in order for me to receive that in residual income, I would have to invest $2.6 million at 6%. That is unbelievable. I've invested millions of dollars, about $2 million in syndication real estate in order to receive $8,500 a month. This is almost twice as big as that in 14 months with no money. Because it's so high up the opportunity ladder and because it has a compounding component. Now, agents say to me, well, I don't want to invite agents to stuff. I'm like, so don't. Like, that's fine. If you don't, I'm just aware that it's available to you. And all you have to do is get really good at inviting stuff because as you can tell, we add crazy amounts of value. And then it's just a matter of time once they get into the ecosystem. Now, here's one of our senior partners. Oh, Lars, that scale, which think about how awesome this is. Lars isn't here. And think about the leverage. We've talked about his book and now we're talking about him here. It's fantastic. So he is a partner of ours. He's a senior partner, right? And Lars has been with the company for 2.5 years. This slide is maybe 6 months old. So he has 1,500 agents in his organization. And that number you see there is accurate. Now, I know when people see those numbers, they don't compute. He made $85,000 in a month in rev share. Yeah. But like, think about it. YouTube has made 15-year-olds millionaires because they, put pies in their face and do silly shit. Like, that's what revenue share does, guys. Right? And you would think that when me and Jose show people these numbers, you leap out of your seat and you're like, let's go. That's not what happens. Instead, what happens is that we watch them go in their head and tell themselves all the reasons why they couldn't do it. I'm not fast enough. I'm not quick enough. I'm not strong enough. Like, blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay, I mean, that's something you can do, but I'm also aware that the opportunity is there.
Or they'll go back to their broker, which the same thing happened to me. And my broker said, oh, look, you're going to go to a no-name broker. Like, nobody's going to want to do business with you anymore because you're with a company that doesn't have a brand name.
Yeah.
False. I actually produced more the year after I moved to EXP than I did with the previous company.
Guys, people usually want the version of you that serves them best.
Ooh.
People usually want the version of you that serves them best. And the other thing that's true is most people are cool with you thinking independently as long as at the culmination of your thinking, you came to the same conclusion they did. So this is about like like stepping into being an owner, not being a peasant, not settling for crumbs or little piece of plastic or hats.
It adds margin too. Like, so for example, like where is Lars in right now? Like he is not here and he is benefiting from this presentation.
And this conversation.
That's the type of leverage that this opportunity provides.
Agreed. So now the second thing is like when agents say to us, they're like, I don't want to do the attraction thing. Like, fine, don't. It's cool if you don't. All you got to do is invite people to stuff and we'll help you build in spite of yourself. Because my goal and objective is to help 100 people to become truly financially free and independent. That's my goal and objective. So if you want to be one of those people, great. If not, that's cool too. Now, if you just want to do deals, remember I told you about that equity plan where you actually can own part of the mothership? Well, like major corporations, what EXP does is they reward top performers with stock in the company. Grants, like real corporations, like a real boy and girl, okay? With grants of stock in the company for performance. So they give you 6 different ways that you can earn equity. If you sell your first property in a calendar year, which resets every year, you get $200 in equity. If you bring somebody to the company when they sell their first property, happens once, you get $400 in equity. When you cap, you get $300 in equity. If you do 80,000 in commissions plus 20 deals on top, they'll give you $8,000 in stock every single year that you do that, half of your $16,000 cap. If you do 80,000 in commissions plus 20 deals on top, you go to 2 EXP events a year and you teach some classes in their metaverse, they will give you the full $16,000 back in stock every single year that you do that. Guys, I was with the company for 15 years, top agent, owned part of the office. When I left that company, how much money do you think I left with? Nothing. Wait. Ta-da!
Aaron, go try to buy some groceries with that.
I know. I'll go there with a smile, be like, hey, you guys take this? Like, I don't know. So what I'm showing you, what's on my screen, I've been with the company 14 months. I did the 80,000 in commissions, plus I did 20 deals on top. So I received the $8,000 award. I've had partners that have sold property. So I got the $400 award. So currently, the value of the stock that I've received in awards is $30,000 because the stock went from $11 a share to $22 a share, being included into the S&P 600 helped with that. My cap is $16,000. Guys, you're at companies where the more deals you do, the more you pay them. Here, the more deals you do, the more they pay you. Which would you rather be with? Okay. Publicly traded on the S&P 600. So they're the 600 top mid-cap companies in the United States. Now, they also allow you to use 5% of your commissions to buy stock at a 10% discount. Guys, that's what real corporations do. If you work for Nike, you work for like, I don't know, like Goldman Sachs, they allow you to buy stock at a discount. It's part of the benefits of working for the company. EXP does the same thing. I've been doing that. That's currently worth $37,000. Guys, look at this, $70,000. Guys, the average age in the United States makes $75,000 a year, $21 an hour. The average manager at Taco Bell makes $20 an hour. I have been received more in stock than most agents make all year long. But I like my pieces of plastic and we're family.
Until
you tell them you're going somewhere else and you'll find out real quick that was not the relationship you thought it was. So for the agents who are saying to me like, look, I don't want to do the trip, fine. I'll help you grow in spite of yourself. Just invite people to stuff. But look at this, guys. This is real, tangible money. And at the end of your working career, what are you going to have to show? You realize if I'd been doing this for 15 years, I'd have over $1 million in equity. But instead,
not only that, but you also have to ask yourself, Aaron, you have to ask yourself, okay, what's going to be easier? Like if I want to be able to retire in 10, 20 years, is it going to be easier for me to make $6 million selling real estate, be very frugal, pay my taxes, pay my expenses, and invest all of it into a syndication that pays 6%? Or is it going to be easier for me to continue selling real estate, build relationships with other agents, and invite them to join the company? What's going to be easier?
That's exactly right. And then the other thing to think about too is that because people
Or
are like,
both.
Yeah.
And you can do both. They're not mutually exclusive. You can continue to do both. You can grow the business, invest in syndications, which that's what I've done. Or do the revenue share. Compound double as fast.
Yeah, and what I'm doing is both. That's exactly right. So, because they're both forms of leverage. It's just that one is a higher form of leverage than the other. Now, what I'm also aware of is like in the short term, because people say to me when I tell them about the equity, they're like, well, you know, past performance is a good indicator of future results. I'm like, okay, fine. In the short term, the stock market is a voting machine. I think. You know what it is in the long term? A weighing machine. What's actually worth something? Who's actually making money? So I want to show you the following slides. If you had invested $100,000 in Remax 5 years ago, it's currently worth $34,000. If you had invested $100,000 in, hold on, jumping ahead. If you had invested $100,000 in House, that is Caldwell Banker, Century 21, Better Homes and Gardens, it's currently worth $29,000. If you would invested $100,000 in EXP, it's currently worth $397,000 5 years later. Guys, remember how we said emotions trump facts? These are facts. Like, go look up the tickers. Like, you can't not, we're not making this up.
Not only that, Aaron, but I saw a slide recently where the reason the stock has been going up or down is because a lot of the companies where the stock is going down are negative in terms of cash flow, meaning they're losing.
Oh, they're hemorrhaging money.
Which means if they're losing money, something's going to have to change in terms of the compensation model, which is why you see a lot of the fees starting to go up for other companies. So they can't lose money forever. That just can't happen. So something has to change.
Yeah, or they do like what Compass did and they borrow like $1 billion and burn through it in 2 years. So like, yeah, you're exactly right, which is like what's going on underneath. That's why you see the fees going up is because they're burning through, they're hemorrhaging money. They're actually losing money per transaction. Okay. And it's because of the shift in the model, DC. I'm curious, do you think the person who was like really into horses held on to the end? Probably. Right? Went down with the ship as though that's like noble. So like Jose was saying, what do you think is easier? 4.8 to 7.2 million dollars in the next 20 or 30 years that you would gross, or you attract 10 to 15 agents in the next 2 or 3 years? Which do you think seems more reasonable and doable, particularly when you have partners like us? So what comes with partnership? What do you get? Because anybody can provide you access to the brokerage firm. The question is, what are you getting above and beyond just access to the brokerage firm? Well, what you get is I have a coaching company with 100 paid coaching clients. 12 of them make over $1 million a year. 75% of all of the coaching and training I provide becomes free to our partners and anybody that they partner with. So I do a group call once a week with me personally from someone who's actually sold 2,000 homes in their career. And 80% of that business was listings sold. So
wait, it's not the manager that's only sold $2 million worth of real estate?
It's a little bit better than that. Yeah. So, and it's agents pay $250 a month to be on that call once a week for an hour who aren't partnered with us. But if you partner with us, it's free. It's free to you and anybody that you bring to the company. Okay. We have 2 separate role play groups because one of the challenges for agents is knowing what to say and how to say it because the people change, the houses change, the situations change within certain variables, but the conversation never doesn't. It's always the same. Never heard of your company. My sister's an agent. Your commission's too high. What are you going to do to market the home? Like it's the same. Like Dr. Willow was saying, it's the same every single time. So it's impossible to get really good at something you don't do all the time. And what I did at the beginning of my career is I role played twice a day, 6 days a week for 3 years. Hand wrote out scripts. I videotaped myself doing presentations because I never wanted that to be a reason why I wasn't able to take advantage of an opportunity because there is no security in this business, only opportunities. Okay. So we have a role play group that simulates what I did, which is it gives you 2 role play partners, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. In the morning is for setting appointments. In the afternoon is just for the listing presentation. Agents pay $1,000 for the year to be in those groups. And if you partner with us, it's free to you and anybody that you bring to the company. I have 2 separate mastermind groups. One for agents that do 250 to 500 in gross commissions. Agents pay $400 a month to be on that call. It becomes free to you and free to anybody you bring to the company. We have a separate mastermind group called the Freedom Builders, which Jose is in. You have to make $750,000 a year or more to be on that group. Access to that group becomes free to you once you fit the criteria. Okay. Now, anybody that I have proximity to and Jose has proximity to, you immediately have proximity to. So Jose, you can talk about what you're offering as far as the value stack.
Yeah. So I did something pretty unique, maybe like 5 to 7 years ago, is I started recording a lot of my conversations that I was having in real estate. So I recorded my conversations with expired listings. I recorded my conversations with for sale by owners. I recorded for rent by owners, probates, listing presentations, buyers consultations. There's thousands of hours of recording. So like, for example, let's say you want to talk to an expired, but have no idea what to say. You literally go on the university, go on the expired section, click on one button. You get to hear one of the best expired calls that you're ever going to hear, because it's by somebody that is taking hundreds of expired listings in their career and somebody that has converted. You want to target a new lead source. You're like, hey, look, I want to diversify my business. I want to start targeting probates. Go on the probate section, click on the probate call, and you get to listen to a live probate conversation and get to hear exactly what to say. You want to practice your listing presentation, go right to the listing presentation and folder and basically get to listen to it right on the spot. The other thing is I have a private mastermind where we generally charge $250 to be on. It's a Friday call, happens at 12 o'clock. You get access to it 100%, where I share with you exactly what is working in my business and what I've done to basically grow it to the level that it's at. We can go over anything social media related. We can go over anything that is real estate related. We can go over investments as well too, which in social media, I probably have over 500,000 followers, 400,000 followers combined through all the platforms. Real estate investments, I have $15 million worth of owned real estate, and real estate sales, we've grossed over $1.7 million for the last 7 years in a row, basically.
Hey, that makes you even more cute, bro.
So that's what you guys get access to. You guys get access once again to a mentor that can teach you stuff who's actually doing it. So if you want to learn social media, come on, ask me what I've done to grow it. Guess what, guys? All of this stuff hasn't happened by chance. I didn't just like open a door and say, hey, I'm going to do this. Everything was very strategic, precise, and there was an actual formula to do it. And the good thing about this formula is I can teach it to you guys as well too.
Love it.
And it's free.
And it's free. If it's free, it's for me. It's exactly right, because the economic model allows us to open up the playbook. And as Dr. Laura just said, modeling is the best way to learn. You find somebody who's doing what you're doing, and then you just copy them. That's it. So, and then the third part of the value stack is Lars. So we've mentioned Lars a few times. Lars was a top agent with a particular company at 2.6 million in gross commissions. He only worked in that business 50 days a year. So Lars is the king of scaling. And he has an online platform called Real Estate B School that he gives people access to. It's a very robust university, all the systems, all the processes, all the procedures. He charges agents $900 a month to have access to it. And it becomes free to you and free to anybody that you bring to the company. So we've been very, very intentional and purposeful about creating a value stack where we can give you access to multi-millionaires in the real estate space who between them have, 6,000 transactions that you would normally have to pay thousands of dollars a month for that coaching and training. And we can offer to you for absolutely free. Okay. Which is fantastic. So I'm imagining now you're beginning to see why people like you are hiring us all the time to help them. So if you're somebody who, one of two things happen when we get to this point in the conversation, okay? One is people say, holy smokes, like that makes total sense to me. I love the idea of having equity and ownership. I love the idea of being compensated like an owner when I invite people to the company, or if they decide to come and, I'm the reason why they came. I love the idea of all of this proximity, because guys, proximity is power. When I met Jose, he was not doing the deals he was doing. He hounded me for a year to get into my role play group. Once he got into role playing with me, he started to jump up, and then now he sells what he does, right? And that's not me bragging or boasting, it's just true. So proximity is power. So I love all the proximity that I get. I love the synergy. I love the collaboration. I am ready to begin onboarding right now. If that is you, okay? If somebody invited you to this call them right away. Tell them, hey, I'm ready to start onboarding, and we'll get you going. Now, other people, what they say is like, well, all this makes sense. I need to maybe watch video, talk to my significant other, pray about it. Whatever you decide is okay. We'll love and support you either way. The question to be asking yourself right now is, what would be a next step that you would feel comfortable with? Because the time to act is when the emotion is high and everything makes sense. Because otherwise what you end up with is the law of diminishing intent. Every 24 hours that go by and you don't take action, the probability that you will gets less and less and less. I just don't want to see you get left behind. I don't want to see you guys have the opportunity of literally a lifetime as far as wealth accumulation at your disposal. And, you just pass it by and say, I'll look at it at some other time. Now, if somebody didn't invite you or whatever, or you want to have a conversation with me, I just put up my QR code. You could book a call with me and we can have a conversation. But with that, we want to say thank you kindly for the time that you took. We hope you guys got, again, tremendous amounts of value from Dr. Laura and from Kathleen. Jose, I love you, brother. And let's go, let's grow. We look forward to the opportunity to be of assistance and to add value for you and your real estate and your families in the future.
Thank you, guys. And from the bottom of our heart, we know we can help you. All we need is the opportunity. And thank you to Kathleen and Dr. Laura Sims as well.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Right.
Pleasure. Great to be with you. Thanks for all you do for your communities.
Yeah, this was fun. I know I had a good time, and I just want to bring us out because I know that the energy with which we learn information is tied to the information. Oh, Dr. Laura knows Jay-Z. She's like,
Dude, you're pulling out all my favorites. I'm a Tar Heel. I did my PhD at UNC. Michael Jordan reference. I was like, that's it.
so listen,
Get much better than that.